Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Playing World of Tanks. Today we'll be looking at the beast, the Tiger 1. Well, it's not a beast in this game, as I think the tank in real life is far greater than anything any game can depict. The tank had a fearsome reputation in World War II. It's not nearly matched by this tank in World of Tanks in particular, but it is a very, very good tank for its tier, especially with the buff that they gave it. It's just a more difficult tank to play than let's say a T29. Today we'll be doing something different. This is somewhat of a live commentary. I did play this game earlier though, but I'm gonna just tell you what I was thinking at the moment when I was actually doing all of this, and not just like babble on afterwards. So this is one of my favorite maps, steeps or steps, whatever you want to call it. So steps being the map that it is, the flank on the right side, that is the 09 line, or if you spawn north, the flank on the left side is always the most important. And the reason for that is that there's two ridges that run on the along the 6-7 line that basically mask your approach coming into the enemy's cap, which you can easily go haul down on and pick enemy tanks off. Now over here, this is a classic example of what a T29 should be doing. The T29 is trying to get hull down, but he's trying to get hull down, but he's not nearly hull down, because like when he comes over the top of the ridge to shoot, you can see his upper plate, and that's what I'm trying to shoot at right now. I know that most of our tanks are spread out behind me. There's a Tiger behind me, immediately to my backside, who's trying to fire shots at him as well. And he will keep on trying, and I think he keeps on missing as well. But I'm waiting for him to sort of like poke again to fire at the IS-2, and then sort of like shoot at his upper plate, which he will expose for us. So, let's see that happening right now. I know there's an IS around the corner. I'm not really interested in him. I'm just trying to get this T29, to come out. There we go. I see his upper plate, and I fire. I know he's staring in my direction, so I sort of like pull back. I have no intention of losing health at this moment. Here's the other thing: never get greedy about shots. If you can pull back and not take damage, that is what you should be doing. T29 pulls up again. I shoot at his upper plate again. His upper plate isn't that great for him to sort of like be relying on it that easily, and that's what keeps on happening. I think the Tiger behind me shot HE and actually pinned him. That's why you see the 300 odd damage that he took. I see T37 doesn't know that he has been lit, and he pays the price for it. T20 is going forward, trying to put pressure on the Tiger and the tank with him, which is the IS, and I'm gonna do the same. Remember one thing: when you're playing the Tiger is not a good tank to be playing really up close. You are a sniper first and foremost. You pick enemies off at a distance, and that is what the strength of this tank is. Now I'm gonna use this ridge, make sure the Yak Panther is retreating, and then I fire on the Tiger. Now I see the Yak. I'm keeping an eye on the Yak Panther, and that's why I've zoomed out, because I don't want to take a shot from him needlessly. I see that the Yak Panther is not focused on me. I fire and I back off. Now I know at this point the shot he has is pretty dodgy at best, and so I'm gonna retreat. Now I take a quick glance on my left side just to make sure the T29 isn't pushing up. And now I'm going to use the next set of ridges to sort of like mask my approach. I see the Yak Panther on my right hand side. Initially my thought was the same as the T20 to go for him. But if you sit here in the open, in the middle here, like if I look back, if you sit in the middle right there with those IS and Tigers, I would take easy shots from the T25 and the Yak Panther. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to this ridge and be as close to it as possible, and I'm going to use the backside of this ridge to move forward and take shots at the Yak Panther. Now the thing is, like, the thing that we have to remember is that at this time I'm willing to take one shot from the T25-2, but the IS that was with us sort of like goes in and thinks, he can just kill the Yak Panther. At this point, I progress from the ridge further, and I fire at the T-25-2 in the move because, he's not looking at me. Even if he turns his turret, it will take him a second to sort of like start firing at me. At this point, I think he kind of realizes it's kind of like too late, so he takes out the IS. I take out the T-25-2. The Yak Panther fires and pens, but I'm willing to take a shot to make my shot count, and I take him out. Now the T-29 on the enemy base just comes alive at this moment. And so here's what this ridge is actually good for, and that is why this flank is more important. I can be pretty difficult target to hit with this T-25-2 in front of me. He is caught, or any defenders are not caught in the open trying to defend this cap, and then it becomes a ridge fight from this point onwards. I'll take a shot from the T-29, because I'm the only target here, and he just proceeds to put an APCR round into me. But I know my reload is far better than his, and so I put a second shot into him. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the T-25-2's corpse to sort of like to my advantage and try to see if I can pin this T-29. Now the T-29 makes it relatively easy for me to sort of like sit in the same spot. I miss a shot. Now at this point I aim a high because his turret was turned, and so I can pin the side of his turret. And right now it's just the easy pickings. I'm trying to get the last shot in. The T-29 finishes off the Tiger with me, but I managed to pick off the T-29. So at this point, if you look at the map, there's tanks progressing from the one line into our cap. And this is why the second reason why this ridge is very important is you'll see me progress along this ridge relatively untouched all the way to our cap, and then I'm gonna start picking these tanks off. And the reason for that is when you are outnumbered by your enemies and you're by yourself, never try to cap, because even if like one person comes back, or maybe if you're unlucky 2 of them come back, you will have to be in a 2-on-1 situation, which is never really actually favorable for any tank, unless you're a very, very skilled player, which even I don't think I am at this moment, because people are easily panicked. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go along this ridge, come over here, and then help this T-25-2 and this one to like pick off these tanks that are coming into our cap. Alright, so now let's see. Now the other thing, while we're discussing, this tank slowly trundles along, is the Tiger is a very slow tank, and so your greatest asset is your gun. Your gun and your turret is somewhat pretty decent for its tier. Don't rely on your gun against tier 9 tanks. They'll just go straight through. If you notice, I had a game earlier. If you get a chance, you can see it. The one before this, episode 40, in which I 40 or 41, I can't remember. American Muscle, and I'm playing my M103, and there's a Tiger who comes to like contest the spot, and I just pen him like regardless of where I'm aiming. It's because like your turret's good, but only to a point. You should not rely on the armor of the turret to sort of like bounce most of your shots. Now the T-25-2s, are doing a good job. I see a Tiger, coming into our base. At first I thought he would be, concerned about me, but no, he's actually firing at the T-25-2. And, I basically just ignore him at this point, and I thought he would be smart enough to stay down, but he isn't. He just comes up and, I just take him out. It was that easy. And now the IS sort of like proceeds to charge into our cap against the T-25-2, who's in a pretty decent spot. I wait for my shot to aim, but unfortunately the gun decides to troll me at the last moment. He pins me relatively easy, but then again I have health to spare at this moment. I'm not really concerned. Again, the Tiger's low mobility makes it that he can't actually escape my line of fire. And at this point, there's just one tank remaining, the T-25 AT. if we move slightly forward in the replay, you know, the T25-2 basically he lets me have the kill, and you know, and it's pretty easy. You know, one tank against two tanks who are you know, more or less full health, you know, is never going to be an easy. This is always going to be an uphill task for any tank, let alone a turdless TD who doesn't have the element of surprise. And so, you know, I see that T25 AT is left at 1 health, you know, poor T29, and boom. That's all she wrote. So, I mean, the tank is pretty amazing. Tigers is a very, very good tank, you know, if played well. And it is, you know, if you keep at it, you'll understand how to play the tank well. You know, it was one of my favorite tanks when I initially got it, and it hasn't stopped being one of my favorite tanks. And so, I mean, hopefully I, you know, enlisted, I've sort of like given you some of my, like squeezed my mind of some information that you might find helpful in playing World of Tanks. Feel free to like and subscribe, and then as always, I'll see you on the next episode.